All right. So, online slave market using apps, okay? So, in Tri Cities, essentially they have a similar group that basically what I was watching was Silicon Valley's online slave market from BBC News Arabic. Essentially, what I noticed is that in other satanic S&Ms, they don't sell the like butterflies and caterpillars. All right, so in this site, they sell women in this documentary. They sell women and children from Kuwait. And so, one of the things that I know about this satanic S&M in this town is it got acquired by Islamic terrorists. And that then they started selling butterflies and caterpillars, or women and children that had been satanically sex slaved in an authentic satanic way. And that cops basically were busy like hosting and marketing those people in these like scam company ways. And so that's how I know that like when I found out this happening, I went around and I pretty much found what would be the known kind of the Russian, the Chinese, and the Nazi style S&Ms. And I wondered why they were selling butterflies and caterpillars, and that is where I found them. They weren't. What I found was that a bunch of people that are fucking dumb as fuck in this town essentially had their version of a satanic S&M being acquired by Islamic terror, who more than likely has a lot to do with this selling of women and children in Kuwait that's being talked about in this documentary. And that more than likely, whatever the ideas that they use, okay, the ideas that Islamic terror uses is like more than likely whatever their gray out is for their Islamic terror version of a S&M is probably the same types of theoretical ideas that they have in Kuwait with this documentary, because basically the Nazis won't sell their butterflies and caterpillars or women and children in a slave way. They sell their pedophiles. And so one of the things that Islamic terror does with the Nazi kind of world is they bitch move to where my guess is since all these people that literally in every other S&M would literally be sold as slaves, all these cops and these like sleazy sex addicts and shit, all those pedophiles would be sold in every single other satanic S&M, and that then here none of them get sold, but then all of their victims essentially get progressed as more of an authentic butterfly or caterpillar, and then they get sold to somebody. And so that'll be kind of the indicator. See, this idea is like in essentially in the regular satanic S&M, it doesn't matter if it's the Russian one or the Nazi one or the Chinese one. Essentially, women buy butterflies and caterpillars, or a butterfly buys a man. They don't buy them as a slave, they buy them as a master in ways. And so, essentially, these people, they attempt to sell masters also. And that's where essentially in the other ones, they buy rights to be. It's like, think about it as like they pay for the right to like be interacting with them, kind of like an arranged marriage idea. They like buy rights to be the arranged marriage person in the other ones. But see, these cops, they find people that are men and they attempt to sell them as slaves. Also, and so that's where everything that they do in their stupid S&M around here, they do all that stuff incorrectly. I've researched every single other kind, and that these people up here have always done this Mormon version, and that they don't ever do anything correctly. And it's one of their premises or themes or whatever. And that is where they don't ever, like in the other S&Ms, somebody that just talks normally is comprehended. In this one, if you don't have some secondary message sign through somebody creepy backing off your brain or something, the only information that they'll ever comprehend is like some weird secondary signs. That would be normal communication in their world, where they can, it's just like normal people communicate in a normal, concise, logical way. Their form of normal communication is literally like weird second messagings that are like retarded and dumb. Okay? This ends up being like what the real aspects to how you can kind of see the difference between groups, S&M swinger groups, based on this kind of stuff. Because you know what? When they attempt to market women and children and shit, they're using apps. More than likely, they're using the exact same procedural process as what they're doing in Silicon Valley in the online slave market. And that's why this is the type of stuff that leads into more of my theory of them being acquired by ISIS, or a group that's headed up by them. And see, in the end, they have a really difficult time like thinking, because mostly what they're looking for when they like see anybody talking is if somebody has like a lisp or if their eyes blink. And see, they can't really comprehend much. And that this is where I know that most of the people that do this sex slave selling kind of shit are basically so like, well, the S&M like does this traumatic shock shit to their fucking brain so much that they literally it starts to take an effect on their cognitive comprehension ability. And then basically their life turns into basically only noticing some very simplistic, like stupid ass, like mannerisms. And then they start to determine who the creepy backs are that are controlling somebody's brain. That's the kind of shit that people, they say that kind of shit. Okay? That's the kind of shit. They say that kind of stuff. And that those kind of people are also not doing the S&M correctly. And that's how I know that they're like not affiliated with the regular S&Ms and shit. Because that kind of weird fuck brain stuff, okay? That's like what they do as punishments to people for doing ultimate Satanism and shit. They do that as punishments, and then they get their brain all engulfed at looking for these second signs. See, when they say pie brain, those people that can't comprehend and are sitting there looking for the creepy back behind somebody's brain and shit, those people The ones that say that somebody's tender psyche from like moving like this or something like that, they'll say that shit. It's the weirdest shit. That's how you'll know that those people are ultimate Satanists and that they get them infatuated about like doing secondary messaging. Essentially, it's like how the guy in the movie Pi was like seeing secret code everywhere. That is what Pi brain is, and that when they're looking at I found them having discussions about my videos like this, and that they're looking for like every time I go like this, they'll say that somebody is cucking into my brain and moving my head for me. This is the kind of weird shit. And that this is the stuff that they thought was like an accepted agency language. It's called fuck brain. I guess this more advanced version would be called like gimp brain or something. And that the years that they infatuate about it ends up making them only see that stuff. But that those people that are like that are involved in this type of stuff. This online slave market shit. And so the whole idea is that those people are outfitted with speakers, that all they do is listen to what the speaker tells them to do. And that even this stuff, if they were trying to sell a slave market or something like that, they would have a tape that would literally tell them what to do. Because basically, if you turned off the tape in their speaker, then they would just sit there, as dumbass people. Okay, they just like wouldn't be able to like really formulate much of any kind of communication, and that they think that they should be able to do tapes. They think that they should have their life accepted. They think that they should be able to kill children and rape women and children and shit. And they think that this is like where they think that their form of Mormonism or something should be accepted in the world. And that they wonder, this is why it is. This is where they sit around, being the cops that investigate everything, refusing to investigate stuff based on their beliefs in some sort of weird satanic cult. So, this is what it is, and that these people sit around acting like it would be completely acceptable to rape women and children into satanic sex slaves just to be selling off to some weird little pedophile down in the South. So, this is like where they've sat around for so many years, believing in some sort of weird Jeffrey Epstein enchantment pedobang land of magical, stupid little dumbnesses. And pretty much they just don't seem to realize that so many people are looking to have them erased from the world in every fucking way, and that the only reason why their stupid ass Mormon club got taken over by Islamic terrorism is because the Russians, the Nazis, and the Chinese sat around having to deal with their stupid Mormon brain thing shit that they sit around torturing people in speakers all the fucking time. These groups. They access people's speakers and then they start torturing them to death. And so basically what it does is it gives them the ability in some of these countries to kill these people. That's pretty much. Isn't it? And so that is like where, regardless of what they think, Mormon Club does not actually own any dark web at all. And so the reality is that these other S&Ms, essentially the Russians own that dark web, the Nazis own that, and the Chinese own that. And the one thing about the Nazis is that technically they don't own theirs either, but they were needed so much to build these Russian intelligence and Chinese intelligence dark webs that essentially they get to maintain ownership, because without their ownership of that specific style, then those other ones wouldn't work properly, okay? And that the Mormon Club essentially had the other one, the fourth one that I was talking about, and that then those people sat around accessing everybody's speakers all the fucking time. So, basically, these people, when they start forcing themselves into people's speakers using some sort of Me Too helper idea, they're in Islamic terror systems. Those aren't Mormon club systems. Those are Islamic terrorist systems. And a lot of the things that make that like that is the fact that you people have everybody in the world that fucking hates all of you. So next time you guys have the bunny rabbit of fluffy furries and stuff that sit around thinking that they can be signs behind the signs for the fluffy furry agents and stuff, you're the people that everybody is basically trying to throw in prison for doing that stuff, for doing the low volume stuff, for developing the constant audio system that engulfs people with full story brains in all cognitive full circle fucking ways. You're the people everybody's looking for. You're the idiots that don't even realize it. You're the ones that got made so fucking dumb in so many fucking ways that all of you sit around really not even being able to comprehend what somebody says, and that is not going to be a defense for anything. The fact that you guys respond by torturing people into suicide is the exact reason why all of you got handed off to Islamic terrorism. See, right now, any one of these Chinese intelligence groups, or even the Nazis, even the Russians, right now they could literally justify killing any of you under the established rules worldwide for being a part of Islamic terror, torturing people into suicide in a militant way. See, you guys are engaged in an act of warfare tactics by an Islamic terror group. And so it doesn't really matter. They recruit people all over the world, and then they formulate little cells, and then they attempt to inoculate themselves. And that this is what I want you people to realize, is if you stupid little banditos and fucking retarded state cop and shit, if you guys are involved with this, that means that you guys are Islamic terror slaves. So you guys should really think about that, because there's a whole concerted effort throughout the federal government and throughout the West, throughout most of the world, to be finding people like all of you. So if you guys are going to actively just be doing that stuff, see, you're the ones that like to prove that somebody doesn't think for themselves and shit like that. That's the indicators. That's where you guys basically may not realize that here in Tri-Cities, I know that you guys are in an Islamic terror drug system. That's why I'm sitting here researching all of you. And then I'm building little indicator lists just like everybody else. And that mine are extremely accurate.